Many debate actually what kind of global order or orders we're living in right now and what the future of global ordering actually is. There are also plenty of debates about how these international organizations that we observe, formal, informal, regional, global, how they relate to one another, given that they're overlapping or nesting. And so in the workshop, we're actually bringing these debates on what kind of global order or ordering processes we observe and how international organizations relate to one another. We bring these kind of debates together to have a better understanding of how states and other actors use international organizations for their own purposes when thinking about global ordering processes.
Although international organizations don't always work that well, and although they face many challenges, they are absolutely essential in contributing to the global order, because right now we are facing too many crises, and all of the crises we're facing are beyond the ability of any single actor to respond alone.
International organizations are extremely useful bodies, and of course they come in different varieties. In my work, I focus on informal bodies. I've been focusing on informal bodies like the G7, and these informal bodies are extremely useful because they really offer a venue for conversation, for bringing different interests around the table, to foster a sense of familiarity among members, and so smoothing out potential disagreement, and so come up with potential solutions, including the energy crisis we are currently facing.
If you think the world looks uncertain, complicated, it would be much more disorderly if we didn't have international organizations. So my research examines the role of international organizations as shadow negotiators. So what I'm interested in is how one international organization can influence rulemaking that's taking place at a different organization when it doesn't have a formal seat at the table.
Today I'm presenting on how young people engage with international institutions in the environmental domain, and from what I see from my research, I can say international organizations are still relevant for global order because even young people try to participate to these organizations.
I think international organizations can certainly contribute to the global order, but this is not automatic. So we as scholars, we need to understand which conditions may facilitate this contribution, and also how to make this contribution more effective and impactful. So if you take the WHO case, the initial response to the COVID-19 pandemic was very much affected by states' parochial interest and their heterogeneous preferences, and this made the ultimate response less impactful and less effective.
International organizations really contribute to the global order in many ways. I think that especially in some issue areas that are non-security related, for example, human rights, I think that people tend to be skeptical about the role because they don't pay enough attention to the important role they have in providing knowledge, helping diffuse certain norms, and even providing protection. If you think about the area of refugees, the UNHCR, and other organizations that provide support for migrants, migrant workers, I think that there's lots of initiatives that international organizations promote and engage in with non-governmental organizations that help support many important goals in global governance, and they also contribute to shifting norms in many ways.
We're seeing that questions around cybersecurity don't only affect kind of traditionally militarized domains, such as critical infrastructure or the army. Instead, what we're seeing is that the weaponization of the information space, so information operations, are something that affects society more broadly and therefore also affects the kind of international order.
I think that international organizations are the very cornerstones of global international order. After the Second World War in 1945, when the international community set up the United Nations, World Bank and International Monetary Fund, they created the very foundations for international cooperation.